Welcome to Six in the Six. Tonight's fabulous guest, Katrin Kaarna. Did I get that right, Kaarna?
Hey, you're very, very close. So, yes, and thank you for having me.
Yes, I'll take close because one getting names right is kind of important to me. But sometimes when we're not dealing with Canadians like myself, I can mess them up. So I'll take close. Um, yeah, thank you for being on. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it's happening. So sweet.
Yay.
So I've got to say, it was a little intimidating reading into your past and trying to figure out where to go with this, because you have quite the resume, um, starting from the UEFA Pro, USSF A license. Those two things in themselves are pretty impressive. But Estonian national team, women's national team, came over to the States up through a couple different clubs, RFC, GPS New York. Rush New York Select. You just kept up in your game. Ended up at Roberts, where I re-met you, and now you're with Cincinnati United Premier. So I think I first met you somewhere around 2017.
I think it might have been 2017. Yeah. That was the year I first arrived to Rochester. And I believe it was the first time in, I'd want to say Webster in indoor place. I
Yes.
don't remember anymore what's that called.
Oh, it
But
changed hands so many times I can't remember.
yeah, I think that's when I first met you.
Yeah, and it's funny, we've kind of interweaved a little bit in the years, and we were peers at Roberts, which was a great experience. Loved learning from you, working with you. Tell us a little bit about that journey. Out kind of the experience in Estonia and all the way into your Cincinnati, your newest gig there.
Yeah, well, it's like you said as well. It's been quite a journey. It's so I started coaching when I was my first ever experience as a coach. Actually, I was still in high school and I was playing soccer for my town team, and the women's game was still at the beginning in the country overall, and at that time the club decided to start the girls team. I think it was U10. I'm not sure anymore, but it was little girls. And my coach at the time asked me if I wanted to give it a try to come and help him and coach the girls. So I guess I had shown some sort of qualities playing in the practices that he thought about me and gave me the opportunity, and it really started from there, where I was like, coaching seems something I'd be interested to uh, look more into and maybe do something long term. And after that, I went to university to study exercise and sports sciences, and during the studies over there, it was a similar thing. Because at the time there was no women's team in the town where I was, and I was playing for a team in another city while I was studying at the university. But we were practicing with boys teams at a local club, and one day there was a coach who approached me and said, "Hey, listen, we have a number of girls who have expressed interest in playing soccer. Do you want to start coaching?" And I was like, "Sure, let's go." And that's where, like from that time, like I've been coaching all the time, and I've been coaching at club level in Estonia. And then pretty early, I was the first female coach. I was the first female coach at the coaching course. They started their licenses. And then the national team head coach at the time wanted me to get involved with the national team as well. One, because I think there were coaches who were obviously working with the women's teams, because there was a few already all over the country, and girls teams started to raise as well the number of teams. But I was the only female coach at the time. And I guess I showed enough passion and care for the game. So they offered me to join the national team's setting. And I was assistant coach with the women's national team for 14 years.
That's a little bit of time.
Just a little bit. Yeah. And in the end, before I left Estonia, I was also, I think the last 3 or 4 years, I was the head coach for the youth national teams, running like that program, helping, educating also coaches. And yeah, one day I decided to explore the world, and I ended up in Rochester.
And we met.
And then we met.
Hey, so early on, when you were still young and you were asked to coach that first time, was your answer to do that kind of driven more from your love of the game, or did you see an opportunity to really be kind of a mentor and help guide and start kind of that women's soccer movement over there?
It's at first it was more like probably the love for the game, the passion. And because at first especially my first try with the little girls, I didn't really think about at the time, like, oh yeah, let's give something back to the game. I was still young enough, right? I was still 17. So, but I think the first step was just trying something new, something different that seemed exciting to me, but also just to be involved and engaged, and the thought of giving back to the game and kind of helping the next generation, that came a little bit later, I would say.
I think it's that's an interesting point, because I think later at some point I read that you introduced a female only C license course.
Yeah.
I mean, when did you start to, I don't want to say feel the kind of responsibility of maybe driving that, but when did you start to feel that getting it so you weren't the only female coach was important?
That's a good question. I would say when I went to the university, probably around that time, there was also studying at the university, like we had because I was obviously my specialization was football, soccer, and we had our like the specific courses and stuff, but the level of the education there wasn't as high as I was hoping for, because they didn't have really a specialized football lecturer coach at that time. When I was there, we had different people coming in and out. They did their best. I had to do a lot of research on my own. But then at some point, I remember thinking that that's something I wish I wish I had at a better level. And then I was thinking, maybe I could be the one who could help the next generation. And yeah, after graduation, I was hired as a football lecturer at the university. So I was able to kind of fill that void. And then with the girls side and the coaches, I remember when I was coaching at the club already, and we had our women's team, and we brought in, because it was a university town, and we had also players from different clubs coming to study, and then because it was more convenient for them to play for our club, our team, then there were constantly players who came in to play a few years, and then they went back home, or some stayed for a little bit longer. But when we started with younger girls teams, then my first look was always who from those older players would want to step in as the next coach. So then I was kind of started to think a little bit more how to also help the next generation of female coaches. And yeah, once I was full-time working at the Football Federation, then and in the coach education department, then that was definitely from the beginning one step for us that we felt we need to do, because at that time the women's game was still developing and growing and wasn't respected as much. And that also meant a lot of those former players or current players who maybe were thinking about, yeah, I think I am interested in coaching, but they felt intimidated by the male coaches to go and take those coaching courses.
Right.
So yeah, having those kind of interactions with other females, most of them players at the time, some of them were coaching, but they didn't have the licenses. And then that's when we decided that this would be an important step, and help and encourage at least get over the first hurdle. A lot of those players who were thinking about stepping into coaching and helping the game to develop this way as well.
Yeah, I think the one thing you said that really I noticed about you from the first time I met you is, and shows your passion of it and kind of your player centric, maybe women's side of the game centric, is your comment about you were thinking about what you wish you would have had and how you would have been that. And I think from day one, since what I can remember from you, and certainly from the Roberts years, you've always shown that passion of that interaction and that individual and team growth for you. So I think that passionate and role model material, I would say, yes, you've got that going.
Thank you.
So one of the common threads all the way from the women's national, your university stuff, you're developing these licenses over here in the US, a lot of director of coaching, GA experience. How have you seen the women's game advance through licensing and through training techniques, tactics, and stuff since your early days up till now at Cincinnati?
I think the biggest biggest changes, I think, what we can see in general overall, also in the international game and the national level as well, is the tactical side of it, the game understanding, reading of the situations, and therefore also the speed of play has increased. But at the same time, I feel like, and funny enough, we had just this week, we had a conversation with colleagues here, and one of the male colleagues said that he enjoys watching women's game a lot more because it is a lot more entertaining in terms of just the tactical side of it, how the game is played, and also also the technical level of the players obviously has improved and increased a lot. And if we look at the US women's national team for a very, very long time, and I think watching the Women's World Cup as well this summer, still I think a lot of people kept talking about the US women's team as very athletic players, and not really given much what's the word now, like pointing out their technical skills or level, because there's, especially the younger generation, there's a lot of really good skillful players and a lot of really good I would also say readers of the game, and have a lot of knowledge about the game, and know and are good players. But I think that has been the biggest shift. And overall, I would say, when I also look at coaching courses, and now having taken the courses in Europe and now over here as well, more and more also at the courses, because also the number of female coaches has increased at the courses as well. So that probably has changed the course a little bit too, that now the educators are actually are more conscious of that. And I feel like the women's game is getting more attention and respect as well from people around and in general as well. So
Yeah, and I think one of the things you made me think of talking about that is getting more female coaches involved. You know, I always read from like a holistic person standpoint. We need to be in touch with our male side and our female side of ourselves, because they both bring different strengths. And I feel like maybe for a long time coaching was too much male centric and maybe a little more kind of directorial, as opposed to I don't want to say nurturing necessarily, but maybe a little less directorial.
mhm.
It's funny
Yeah.
too, you mentioned the US women's national team. And so how do you feel, just in the last couple of weeks, there's been some high profile exits from the upcoming Olympics with England got booted out, Sweden got booted out, some of the recent lack of meeting expectations of the US team. How do you feel that more physical US team that was dominant for so many years, how do you think they helped raise the level of international play?
Um uh like you mentioned, some of these teams that are actually out of the Olympic Games now, the next big tournament for the women's teams. Um, like the evolution of the game all over the world has been so crazy, so big, and the changes and development some when we look back at the history as well, when they used to be, for example, even China and Japan always used to be at the top, but now a lot of other countries have caught up, and when we look at also the US women's team that were at the top for so long, and everyone was really looking up to them. One was the athleticism, the physical side of it, but at the same time developing and improving just the game in general. And I think it's like the overall development. It's been great to see and great to follow as well. And I think there's so much more unpredictability right now in the game, that before the game, especially this World Cup, when I end up watching, I think, almost every single game, and sometimes even woke up stupid o'clock, but but there was so many games where before the kickoff, even if you thought, oh, I think they're gonna win, and a lot of the times they didn't. So definitely, I think the US dominating for so many years has pushed the rest of the world to work even harder to catch up. And now where they have, now the US needs to really rethink, and I think they are seeing, like when you look at the latest shifts and changes what they are making, then I think they are taking it seriously, and and looking to find different solutions, so to be back on the top. So which is also good, a constant little battle.
Yeah, I agree. I like your comment about the unpredictability. I think that just added a level of excitement and interest in
Yeah.
watching those games, because you never knew. Whereas, in the years past, it was, oh, it's the US and whoever, or Sweden
Mm-hmm.
against whoever. And
Mm-hmm.
it was
Yep.
almost a given. You didn't have to wake up at stupid o'clock because you could just
Yeah.
read the obvious win. But the other thing you made me think of in there is, I think the US perhaps winning so often and for so long, I think maybe that built in a little bit of complacency within, maybe within the entire system. So it's probably good
Mm.
domestically that that's getting shaken up a little bit. And like you said, with some recent changes, things seem to maybe be back on an upswing. The players seem a
Yeah.
little more upbeat.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope it well, it seems like it has been giving them a lot of thought, and how to move on, and hopefully like you said, internally as well in the country, for the younger players as well, who maybe have those ambitions to one day play for the national team, to so that they see these things and think that, oh, I might need to work even harder now, because those girls in England and Germany and Sweden and all over the world do also the same. They work really, really hard to get there. And but it's all good in the end, because we're all trying to get better. We're all pushing for the game to get better, and in the end, I think it just helps the game grow and develop.
Yeah, and I think working hard, having to work hard is never a bad thing to think you need to do to get somewhere, right?
Definitely.
So kind of back to the training, and back to that kind of GA and how that landscape's changed a little bit. Back in 2009, you published an interesting article, which I couldn't read because I can't read that language. Something about metabolic and physiological responses to complex training load.
Yep.
How do you feel with women getting more athletic and the game evolving more? If you went back and were to revise that paper, how would you approach the training load scenario differently these days?
Mm. Um, that was part of my bachelor degree and then my master's research. And at that time, my supervisor was, he actually was a long distance runner. And yeah, because of his background, and he had been in researching like longer distances, the runs mainly, and how that influences and different methods and types of training, how to improve endurance, different types of endurance as well. And then we combined the training. We let the players play a small-sided game, and then they ran, and then we compared the findings. Basically, in the end, the conclusion was what kind of training loads to use to improve players' overall endurance, and that was the study. But if I do it again, well, I was only a young student, didn't know much about science and researches, so I had to trust my supervisor, obviously, in that. But I would actually I would have done probably comparing different sizes of games and compared that workload. And then I think it would have been interesting to do it also over a longer period, because for that I didn't have much time. I think we did it twice with that group, but I think to do it more long term, and then see what the outcome is, that would have been definitely interesting. But when why I wanted to, well, one thing, obviously, I was studying sports sciences, and my I was specialized in football. Then I really was intrigued by, I think it might have been after, no, I hadn't been at the coaching course yet, but I was intrigued how to improve also players' athletic or physical ability by playing. So that was my main kind of driving force, why I definitely wanted to have a small-sided game in my research, and how can I use the game itself instead of running around the track.
Right.
So that was my main driving force. But having that longer run there was really influenced by my supervisor.
Right. It's interesting. 2009. So well, you were probably ahead of wearable technology by a good 7 to 8 years there in doing that. That would help you a lot these days.
Oh, that would help so much. Yeah, that was probably Stone Age, looking back,
Well,
what we had to use. And
that's pretty bad when 2009 considered Stone Age. Um, so if part of your A license, back, I'm a little all over the place tonight, but back to the licenses, you were in, I think, the She Champions coaching mentorship program. That might have been was that the inaugural one for that?
yeah.
I mean, you talked about like your early years, kind of you going in and wanting to mentor more female coaches and things like that. How important was that mentorship program for you going through your A license?
I think it was more to get a better understanding about the US market and the game here. a better understanding of college game and the club game, because US is very unique in the world. There's nowhere else in the world college, university, athletic system like this. It's just here. Anywhere else in the world, the top players will go and play for a club, and then if they have time, they also study at the university or college, right? So that's how the landscape is. But I think that was the one that was a really nice surprise, the having the mentorship program next to it, next to the A license. But that was my biggest reason as well to take the USSF license, because I had been here by that time already 4 years maybe, and didn't think I would be leaving very soon. So I figured as long as I'm here, I think I need to understand also from inside, understand it better, so that I feel more comfortable and confident also coaching in this environment, and knowing also what is going on at the USSF courses, how they deliver, and what their message really is. But yeah, I think it was overall it was really good experience for me, and definitely gave me a lot more insight and understanding of the game overall, different aspects of it.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting topic for an entirely different day, about you know, coming in from one youth to pro landscape into a totally almost reverse way to look at a youth to pro landscape. So we'll save that one for a different day.
All right.
Let's hop into Cincinnati a little bit. One of the things that intrigued me about Cincinnati was the cup goal concept. Cup being character, unity, person first, with the goal being growth-minded, ownership, ambition, and love. And yes, I had to read that. I didn't memorize it. How do you feel your sports psychology background and all of your experience up to you being there in Cincinnati kind of plays in supporting those characteristics, those attributes of cup goal?
I still have to sometimes look back and read them as well, by the way.
I don't feel bad then.
So don't feel bad. But they what's good, well, I've been here for a month now. What's good, it's definitely they do involve the core values in evaluation or in feedback or in whatever we do. But one thing we talked about the coaching staff as well is to that we need to do a better job with it, to make sure that also not just the coaching staff, because especially the older staff that has been here for longer, they know it better. I'm still sometimes thinking what else was there, but overall, I think it is important for everyone to understand, players, parents, staff, what those core values mean, and then also really important to live by them. But what we're trying to pass on to the players is definitely love for the game, passion, ambition is another one. And CUP has been the GA program, the top level program has been, the girls' side has been pretty successful over the years. There are several teams that have won nationals, that have won. Last year we had 2 age groups that won the Girls Academy League Champions Cup. So there's definitely the ambition part is there. And then within, we definitely value person first. So we always encourage all the players and encourage the girls to also think about that first. Like you are a person first, and we want to educate them as people, not just as players, because there's so many lessons you can learn being on a team, working together, how to interact with other players, how to learning also for especially younger girls, learning how to interact with older people, with coaches. Yes, they have to do that in school as well, but I feel like in a team setting where that coach is there for you maybe a couple of years, then that connection could be a little bit more special than a teacher at school. But like little details like that as well, and valuing the character, understanding also that every person is a little bit different, and then how to use their strengths for their advantage, and whether it's on the field or maybe it's off the field. So we definitely we do a lot of those things, but sometimes we maybe haven't done a good enough job to also connect these little things that we do with those core values, that, hey, by the way, this is the cup goal. This is why we do these things. But yeah, that's something we are looking to start doing a lot more, and so that the players will also understand what those core values mean, and start making those connections, and hopefully learn from them, and yeah, have some lessons for future.
Yeah, I like you said the uniqueness part and recognizing the strengths of everyone. I think the other important piece in that is, can you take in and understand the different perspectives people bring? Because it's difficult to solve new challenges when you're all thinking the same way, or you refuse to listen to other points of view. So I think that's an important one. I love the concept of cup goal and what you talked about on, bringing the parents onto the same page and the club onto the same page, the coaches, all that. One of the things I've been kind of toying with the goalies recently, and, with limited, sometimes good success, sometimes limited, is how do you push a value like, let's say, character? We'll use an easy one. How do you push character into training sessions and work on those core values inside a small-sided game or inside of a, have you started pushing stuff down into, how do we do unity within a possession drill?
That's a great question, and that's something definitely developing and evolving. But yes, there are moments where we, at practices, also game days, we've been talking about a few of those different core values. Like on a game day, obviously ambition is one huge piece, and love for the game, and but when we talk about maybe a small-sided game or a practice environment, then unity, definitely, if we want to achieve something, right? So if we're on the same team, then we want to work together. So now different aspects of it, maybe it's improving the communication, maybe it's improving awareness, maybe it's improving understanding each other's movements better. So definitely, even in that little training setting, we've talked about the core values as well. And character, it's I think that's an interesting one, because I feel like the moments when that core value comes up in a discussion, or when we have to, or when we do talk about this, is sometimes in conflict situations where someone either acts in a different way or reacts to something in a different way, and then there's a little misunderstanding, and then we have to look at it, hey, but if we look at it from her perspective, or maybe that's her the way she is, just her her character, right? Like, that's just the way she reacts, or she understands, or she reads, or maybe sometimes it was just, oh, I misunderstood, type of thing. But that's an interesting one. It tends to come up when there's a challenging situation.
Well, yeah, it might, it might be as simple as you feel you got cheap shotted going for a ball, and instead of punching the girl, you just kind of walk away.
Could be,
What's
right?
your character?
Yeah, could be.
Maybe it's to turn around and punch her. I don't know. What's that say about you? I think you're speaking my language when we're talking about this now, because it's kind of that integration of the mental side of the game into the physical. And I think the better we can not have those separated, because I feel like the mindset piece is always like kind of a classroom thing, and then you go
Yeah.
in the field. I think if we can bring those in and be implementers of those mindset, but it's a tough thing to try to figure out how to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like sometimes I think uh people are talking about this more and more, and now, like, the mindset part, and the thinking, and how to control that, and how to maybe use that better, also in my sport setting, is becoming like more as a talking point now. But it used to be, I feel like, yeah, don't worry about that side, let's just run.
Right. Suck it up, get back out there. So arguably the most famous player to come out of Cup, Rose Lavelle.
Roosevelt.
When you look at her performing on the international stage, and maybe more importantly, when younger girls are looking at her play on that international stage, what traits of that cup goal, what attributes can you see her display on that international stage that kind of make you be like, wow, that's us. That's what we have contributed.
um I think the looking at Lavelle play, I think the first two things that come into my head are love, love for the game. Like, you can see her passion when she's on the field, the way she fights for the ball. When she lost the ball, she goes, tries to win it back. Definitely ambition, wanting to give as much she can for the team, and score goals, and always trying to push herself, and also players around her. And then growth minded, obviously. You have to be, if you're one thing, if you're already at that level, you've gotten there, and you've pushed yourself to be there. But also, I think when you look at her play when she's on the field, you can definitely see, like, those. I would add growth minded as well to in there. Those three are the first things you can visibly see, the way she plays, and how she is on the field, and also how she interacts with other players around her. So I would even say unity. She is a team player, and she's When you look at the team and her, then she seems to be getting along with other players and has like a good circle of people there. So definitely this and the character. She is a definitely is a character on the field and knows her strengths and how to use them also on the field. So yeah, I think we can when you look at her and look at the core values, then you can see a lot of them, and definitely can recognize and can see. Also, I honestly I don't know how long cup goal exists, like but things that you can definitely pick out, and clearly it has come from the environment where
Right.
she's grown and developed, and these are the things that she has learned over the years.
Yeah, I'm sure even if it wasn't called Cup Goal when she was there, I'm sure those that kind of philosophy and environment
Yeah,
existed before it was formalized. Now she should be on the poster for it. I should have just asked you that question because you summed up Cup Goal and her, I think, all in the same question very well. I gotta be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of her when she first hit the international stage, but I think a lot of the character stuff and the love and the passion and she's got this fire about
yeah,
her. Kind of like a loving fire, so it's interesting. Yeah, she's kind of won me over the last couple of years. So
good. Yeah, because I remember when I first saw her play, a lot of people were really critical because kind of she wasn't the kind of player you would have imagined if you were thinking about a US women's national team, because uh, a lot of people thought and kept talking about this big athletic, can run fast, can jump high, all of these players, and now you have Rose Lavelle, who is completely different, who is small, is not as bulky as big, is pretty skinny. But I remember when I first saw her play, I was like, she's gonna be a player. She's gonna be a baller. Just the way she was playing, and exactly for those values and what she represented and showed on the field, and I'm really happy to see that she is now.
yeah, maybe her legacy is going to end up being that she was kind of the first of the new wave to start filtering through the system,
Yeah.
which wouldn't be a bad thing. Um,
Mhm.
okay, a couple more here. You've coached both boys, girls, men, women, both sides. What in your mind is just one, the one biggest difference between coaching males and coaching females?
Hmm. That's a good question, and um, we have with coaches, we've talked about that as well, sometimes come up, uh, but mm, one biggest difference I would say is girls are more coachable, or easily coachable. I can't say that all male aren't coachable, but I feel like with boys or men, uh, for them, it is more about, let's just go and play. I just want to play. I don't really want to do anything else. While girls are, they they do want to play as well. Don't get me wrong, but they are. I feel like they are a little bit more open to coaching and teaching and learning. Um,
So maybe approving versus pleasing kind of
Maybe,
thing.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that. And I haven't I've coached, I can count them on one hand how many males, so I'm much more experienced in the female side of the game. Um, I can see that. I think the story I heard once that sums it up for me is that I think it was in context of ice hockey. So there's a locker room, right? Well, I guess there is in all sports. But if you walked in between periods and like slammed down your clipboard and was like, I can't believe all this went bad, every boy in the room is like,
Hmm.
me, it was them, right? And every female in the room is going, "Oh my God, coach is talking about me." I mean, I think that's the difference to me.
That is also one big difference, I think. Yeah, yeah, I don't know why, but a lot of the times the girls tend to take it more personal than male. That's that's a good point too.
Psyche somehow. I don't. Yeah, something like that. Last one. So sitting where you are now in the comforts of Cincinnati, if you could speak directly to your 17-year-old self in Estonia, what advice would you give her?
I would say go for it.
I like that one. Just go for it.
Just do it.
So you're a little bit of an anomaly from what we just talked about of like being like, oh no, not me. You're just like, boom, do it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different.
Yeah, I've known that. I see that. Kat, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much for agreeing to be on this. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, I wish you the best of luck in Cincinnati, and I know bigger things are coming soon.
Thank you.
Have a good holiday, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you. You too.